Okay, so in this video, I'm going to explain why 95% of those who attempt to manifest their desires fail to get the results they deserve. And it usually boils down to one of 5 primary myths and misconceptions about manifesting. So in this video, I want to address these 5 myths and misconceptions and why they are misconceptions and why they are false beliefs, and why you can trust that you can manifest your desires into reality. So the very first myth and misconception that I want to address is this idea that physical reality is the only reality, and there is no other reality beyond what we can see, hear, feel, smell, and taste, beyond the 5 senses. Scientists are very classically assigned to a group of people who tend to believe this. They want to have hard evidence for everything that they believe, and there's good reason for that. And that is a perfectly valid way to live. You want to have good, solid evidence before you accept an idea as truth. But yet, this idea that there is no reality beyond the physical is a false belief. Now, the problem with manifesting, the problem with false beliefs, is that one of the basic principles of our reality is that our experiences of reality tend to reflect our beliefs back to us. And so one way of saying this is that your beliefs become your reality. Another way of saying it is that reality reflects back to us our own beliefs. However you want to describe it, however you want to connect the dots here, the fact remains that what we believe inside our own minds tends to influence the way that we experience the reality around us. And so if you believe that there is no other reality beyond the physical, if you believe that there is no spiritual reality, if you believe that there is no such thing as metaphysical forces, metaphysical meaning above the physical or beyond the physical, if you believe that none of these things exist, then that belief will prevent you from experiencing anything that is caused by metaphysical forces, that is caused by spiritual forces, that is caused by anything beyond the physical dimension. And so I definitely fell into this group of people. I definitely accepted this belief about reality, that the physical is the only thing that possibly exists. In fact, one of the major reasons why it took me so long to finally start getting results from manifesting is because I kept thinking, okay, I know that when I'm thinking, there are electrical impulses traveling through the neurons of my brain. And yes, electricity creates a tiny amount of magnetism, but these are very small, weak forces that are going on that physical dimension. How can anything that goes on inside my mind impact anything beyond a few inches away from me? How can my thoughts impact something a mile away? How can my thoughts impact what another person thinks? The whole idea of ESP and psychic abilities, intuition, telling the future, predicting the future, reading the facts of another location, what's called remote viewing. These are things that can only happen if there is something going on beyond the physical. Now, one of the classic studies of ESP, psychic abilities, that is often quoted, it's the most well-known, is Professor Rhine at Duke University way back, what was it, 60s or 70s, 1960s, 1970s, somewhere in that time frame, I think it was. He did all sorts of tests with all sorts of people, trying to get them to prove one way or another, do psychic abilities actually exist? And because he did so many experiments with so many people attempting to do this in so many different ways, there was enough data collected to be analyzed and put through the statistical analysis. And the statistical analysis said, yes, there is something going on beyond mere chance. Chance cannot describe and explain the results they got. However, the problem with those experiments was that while the results were more than what chance would predict, what chance would allow, what could be reasonably associated to chance and coincidence, even though the results were beyond that, they still weren't anything near what we would hope for. Nobody had a perfect 100% score. Nobody got a score that was 50% right. I mean, in the classic thing of the Zener cards, where there's 5 different symbols on the cards. There's the wavy lines, there's the square, circle, triangle. I don't even know what the other one was. But there were these different shapes. And the experiment where one person would hold up the card, visualize the card, focus on that card, and somebody else across the room or in another building or another state would try to guess which card they were looking at. And chance would say that if you just randomly selected anything, you would be right 20% of the time. Because there's 5 cards, you can say the exact same thing every single time, and you'd be right 20% of the time, 1 out of 5. Chance, you could pick any one at random and be right 20% of the time. Well, we would hope that if someone is demonstrating really strong psychic abilities, that they would be right 100% of the time. Every single time something comes up, you know exactly what it is. Well, the results that Professor Ryan got at Duke University was nowhere near 100%. It was more than 20%, and because of the sheer number of experiments he did, even a success rate of 25% was statistically significant. But because the results were as low as they were, a lot of people say, well, maybe it was a fluke, maybe chance and the statistics failed in that case. Okay, so maybe. There have been so many other experiments that have been done just within my own life. And I know scientists will say, but that's anecdotal evidence. You can't talk about anecdotal evidence. A scientific study is just a collection of anecdotal evidence. The study of Professor Ryan at Duke University. One person doing one thing got one result. That's anecdotal evidence. But you collect 1,000 pieces of anecdotal evidence, combine them together, analyze them as a group, that's data. So, stories from individual lives do have value. And when you are in a position, okay, let me back up here and just come at this from a different way. Just because one person got one result one time, that doesn't mean anything. Statistically, scientifically, doesn't mean a damn thing. But if one person can do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, that goes beyond anecdotal evidence. That goes beyond chance and coincidence. That starts to show a pattern. And when there's a pattern, then there's a principle. And if it's a principle, then it's beyond chance and coincidence. So this whole idea of there is no reality beyond the physical, there's so much information and evidence to the contrary that it does not stand up to true analysis. That belief is false. There is a lot more going on than what we can explain through physical means alone. So that belief we've already covered. I promise you the other ones will go a lot quicker. The next one that I want to talk about is this idea that God created the universe, God has a plan for all of us, and you are predestined to have a particular life. Everything in your life has already been predicted, planned out, and there is no deviation from that plan. And this is actually a worse belief than the everything is physical and nothing else exists beyond that. Because it means that if supposedly God's plan is for you to be in a car accident at age 43 and have your arm taken off, then if it's predestined and there's no way of getting out of it, then it doesn't matter what you think about or what you try to do, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. But that is not a belief I can personally accept. Because if that were true, if the idea were true that there is a plan for all of us and everything is predestined, then my life has been predestined to show that manifesting is actually real, because that is the experience that I've had. And okay, maybe I can wrap my head around that one, that okay, maybe there could be some truth on it, but it's such a limiting truth that I can't possibly accept it. Now, if that's where you're at, if you believe that everything is predestined, there's nothing you can do, why are you even watching this video? I mean, this whole video, this whole channel, my whole work is based on the idea that we do have the ability to take control of our lives, to direct the course of events in our lives, and manifest the outcome that we desire. That's the whole principle behind my work. If it's false work, and if it's God's plan that this go a particular direction, okay, so be it. But I can't focus on that. I can't limit myself to, well, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I have to at least attempt to take control. And based on all the evidence that I see, when you take control, you have the option of gaining control. And when you gain control, then you can decide for yourself which direction your life goes. So I can't really say that that myth is busted, but I don't think we need to spend any more time with that one. The next idea that is very common out there, and I ran across this a number of times, is the idea that only certain people are able to manifest their desires. At one point, it was the legend, the myth, that the seventh son of a seventh son has special powers. And the rest of the people in the family, they didn't have any powers. They didn't have any ability to manifest their desires into reality. But that one special person, that seventh son of a seventh son, that person had power. Or the other idea along this line is that certain bloodlines, certain family groups have the ability to command forces beyond the physical, to cast spells and direct the course of their lives in that way. All I can say with that is that I have met so many people who do not fit these characteristics, who are not born into a special family, who are not born at a special number, who are able to do these things, who are able to manifest their desires. I'm certainly not the seventh son of a seventh son. My dad was, I think, the second or third male child in his family. There were a number of sisters. I don't know how he fell in line with the sibling number hierarchy that way, but I know I was the firstborn son of him. So I definitely didn't fit a seventh son of a seventh son. And I've developed the ability to do a lot of this stuff. So I don't fit that pattern. As far as I know, nobody else in my family on my father's side or my mother's side has had the ability to manifest things the way I've learned to do. So I certainly don't fit any of those patterns. A lot of people that I know don't fit those patterns and yet are able to do these things. I've shared the story. I failed and failed and failed and failed and failed so many times that it was almost impossible to believe that I would be able to manifest my desires into reality. And yet I did eventually develop that ability. It is a skill. It is an ability that we can develop. So that's where we're going to go with that one. So the next idea that I want to cover here is a number of false claims that are being made on various websites trying to sell different courses or even to teach several systems where they're giving away the system, they're teaching it for free, but they still sell other things related to it. And there's this idea of it works whether you believe in it or not. It doesn't matter what you believe. Your faith has no impact on whether the system works or not. That is a false belief. And I can tell you that when someone tells you that something is going to work, however they describe it after that, there's a part of our minds that if someone says, this is going to work for you, I know it's going to work, I have complete faith in it, that faith gets transferred from one person to the next. And if you tell me that your thing is going to work, whether I believe in it or not, if I accept what you're telling me, there's a part of me that is starting to believe that it's going to work. So the whole reason for people to say, yes, this thing works, whether you believe in it or not, the reason they're telling you that is to get you to believe in it. Because according to your faith, as it done unto you, as was said a couple thousand years ago, your beliefs create your experiences. Your beliefs shape your reality. If you believe something is going to work, your belief can make it work. That's the power of the placebo. That is the power of belief, the power of faith. If you believe something will go a particular way, your belief will tend to push it that way instead of any other way. So this whole idea of things working whether you believe in it or not, completely false. Your belief is required. However, having belief in something can be as simple as a decision, choosing to believe that, yes, this will work for me. They say it's going to work for me, it's going to work for me. As long as you accept that, then your belief is open to the possibility that it will work. And that may be enough to see some results. Of course, when you want to get consistent, reliable results time after time after time, then you need to step up that faith and make it an absolute faith, that there is no question beyond any shadow of a doubt, no matter what else happens, this is going to work. And when you have that level of faith, you can really do a lot in this field. You can do a lot with the manifesting concept. Now, very closely related to this, there's also a lot of systems out there that are being taught that it only takes 5 minutes a day to manifest miracles into your life. You can completely transform every aspect of your life in just 5 minutes a day. There's a grain of truth to that. And I will say that when you have developed the right skills, when you are able to focus your mind on what you want and close off any thought of what you don't want, when you're able to focus clearly on what you want and nothing else, when you are able to feel the reality of what you would like to manifest as if it is currently real, and it's tangible in your mind, and when you have the ability to bring up a rock solid level of faith that says, this is an absolute truth of my reality, this is what it's going to be, there is no other opportunity, no other chance for it to go any other way. When you have those three main skills in place, and a few others that are related to it, which we'll get into later, when you have the skills in place, and you have developed the manifesting muscles to move reality according to your wishes, then yes, 5 minutes a day is all it takes to turn your life into whatever you want it to be. However, If you have not yet developed those skills, if you have not yet developed that strength of will, that strength of consciousness, that strength of faith, if you've not yet developed those things, it's going to take more than 5 minutes a day to develop them. It's kind of like lifting weights. Someone who can only lift 50 pounds is not going to suddenly be able to lift 100 pounds. They would have to work out and develop their muscles and gradually increase their strength day by day by day by day, week by week by week, however schedule you want to go at it. But they will have to slowly develop their strength to the point where they can lift 100 pounds. And that takes a lot of time. But once that time has been invested, once those skills, that strength has been developed, lifting a 100-pound weight becomes easy, and you just do it. Same thing with manifesting. Developing the strength and the power to manifest takes time. And yet, once you have developed that strength, once you have developed those skills, manifesting itself can be as simple as making a decision and trusting that it's going to happen. Less than 10 seconds. I know I've done it. I've already shared the stories in another video. Decide and trust. The simplest manifesting process ever, and it can't work that easy. But getting there takes time to develop the skills required. So, hopefully I have cleared up some of the myths and misconceptions around manifesting. Hopefully I've given you a reason to believe that yes, you can manifest what you want. It doesn't require that you be born into a special family or be born in a particular order within your family. It doesn't depend on some mysterious outside force that's going to decide whether or not you are good enough to manifest, to have what you want. And there is a power beyond the physical that can completely overpower everything in the physical. The way I think about it is our physical reality is just dust on an ocean of power. And our physical reality moves according to the waves on that ocean of power. And that ocean of power is non-physical. Our minds are connected to that ocean. As we move our thoughts, the water of the ocean moves, and physical reality moves with it. But that gets into this idea of working models. And that's an idea I'll cover in a different video. In the next video, I'll talk about the science of manifesting, the principles which make manifesting work, and what does it really require to manifest your visions into physical reality. So I'll see you in that next video. Until then, be blessed, my friend.